Welcome everyone. This is going to be a quick tutorial on how to create a simple function. So remember, a function is nothing more than a group of statements that performs a specific task. So right now we're going to write a function that does nothing more than get a input number from the user console using cin, very simple thing. So the first thing we need to do is declare the function itself by using a function prototype. So since we're going to be getting an integer, I'm going to type in int as the function return type. Then I'm going to do get integer. And then I'm going to not have any parameters for this particular one. So this does absolutely nothing except tell the program, hey, I'm going to be using a function called getInteger. So now what we need to do is write the actual definition. And Visual Studio is very good and creates it for us, so we don't have to type anything. So I'm going to go over here. Now, you always want to do something in here. This function will get an integer from the user or whatever it's going to do. So now we have something. It's very simple. So the very first thing we need to do is declare the number to get. And then we'll just do cout, enter a number, and then cin num. And then, very important, a common mistake is to forget to change the return and leave it at 0. What will happen is every time you do this, you're going to get a 0. So let me show you what I'm talking about. So here we're going to do is just type in, to call the function, we're just going to do, we need to declare a variable of type integer. And I'm going to call it num. And it doesn't matter if you call it the same or not, because this num is totally different than this num. If you don't like doing that, just make it a different name if you're not comfortable with it. So then let's just go number equals get integer. Don't forget the parentheses, and then we'll do cout number. So what's going to wind up happening is we're going to get a number, but the problem is we're going to always get 0 no matter what number we type. So if you get this, you want to always look back at your return. Then I will show you a quick way how to fix that when you declare the function so it doesn't happen. So I'm going to type in 100, and it says 0. So no matter what I do, it's going to be 0. So what I do is as soon as I do the function definition, before I write any code, I comment out the return statement. So what that'll do for me is give me an error saying that it must have a return statement. So let's go and do this here and see what we get. Well, there's build errors. And it says integer must return a value. So then you can go back and fix it. But that's an easy way to make sure that you don't forget to change it. All right, so let's go and run this program again and see what happens. And so we're entering a number, we'll do 100 again, and your number is 100. So remember, one of the things that I always say, make sure that when you are doing something, do one thing first, and then what you want to do is test it to make sure that you're not running into any kind of problems in there. All right, so let's go back to this here again And what is the big deal about that? We could have done the same thing. Well, what happens if I wanted to say enter 5 numbers in here? So depending upon how I did it, I can just do for integer I equals 1, I less than or equal to 5, I plus plus. And actually, I put this in the wrong spot. Let me delete that and go to main. So now what's going to wind up happening is I'm going to get 5 numbers, and then we're going to add the total of them. And that's very easy to do, but that's inside of this. We'll get to that afterwards. So let's go and run this real quick. And so we have enter a number, and then we're going to type in, let's just start off with 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. So we've got 5 numbers in there. So we didn't have to write 5 different codes in here. But now let's just say that we want to limit our numbers between 2 different numbers, say 1 to 10, 1 to 50, 1 to 100. That's a little bit different. So let's write that real quick. And what we're going to do here is we're going to write the same function. The only difference is we're going to pass some parameters. Now, we're actually starting off with overloading. What overloading means is you can have the same function name, but you're passing different parameters. So basically, it saves you the hassle of always having to come up with some sneaky name in here. So let's just type integer. Okay, let's try this again. Integer. And this time, we're going to pass an integer and an integer. And notice that this is good. So let's go and create this. Now, if you don't get this little screwdriver thing, you can right-click and choose Control A here, and then you get it, and then you just do declare definition in here. So this time, what we need to do is, we'll call this minimum and maximum. And so now what we're going to do here is do the same thing. And we're going to do cout, enter a number between minimum. Notice I'm not using min. And maximum. And so we don't have everything right at the end of the line. Let's do this here. And then what we're going to do here is cout. We need a number. Oops, should be cin. So what we want to do here is declare an integer as number. And we want to put this inside of a loop. So let's declare a variable. And we'll call it need number. So we want to keep getting this until we get a valid number. So the first thing we want to do is put it inside of a do. And then we need to put it as a while. So now we're good here. So need number is true in here. So we're ending a number over here, and I'm going to close this. I like working with the regular code in here. So what we're doing here is we're going to keep getting a number. But now we need to check to see if the number is valid. So here we do the need number. And in this particular case, our invalid numbers are anything that's less than minimum or anything that's less than maximum. So let's just go need number equals number is less than minimum. And then I'll go back and put the parentheses in. Or number is greater than maximum. So let's go put our parentheses in. And I just feel this is much more readable when you have the parentheses. I usually put a space between them. And so what we need to do now is if the number is invalid, it's going to keep going what's valid. So let's go and test this real quick. And what we'll do is we'll just do it one time and you'll see what the issue is because we're not really telling the user what's going on. So let's go and run it again. We need to actually do this in here. So we'll do a number equals get integer. And we're going to do, say, 1, 10. Then we're going to make a constant to do that. So let's go and do it right now. And we'll do cout number here. And so what's going to happen is it's going to look for a number. If I wrote it right, it's going to look for a number and make sure that it's between 1 and 10. So let's go and run this. And I always test 1 below and 1 above first. So it says enter number between 1 and 10. So let's start off with 0. And it just says enter number. So the user might not know what's going on. But that's all right. We're going to fix that in the next step. So we have 0 and still not working. So let's try 10. And we have an issue that says 0. So I did that on purpose again, just to show you the importance of putting in those little comments in there. So what we need to do here now is put in number. We have to return number. So now that we're doing this, we made one change. Let's go and correct it. And we'll type right off the bat. We'll put in 10 and see if we get 10. And we do not get 10. Well, that's not good. So let's go back and see what we have done wrong. Oh, that's because we have this here. So I am now going to fix it right. You know, again, see how important that is to just do one thing and make it text before moving on. So let's go and do this again. And hopefully the third time's a charm. So let's try 10. All right, now we have a winner. So we don't have to do anything. So now the problem is if the user types in a wrong number, they might not know what's going on. So what you want to do is give them if need number. What we want to do is tell the user cout whatever error message you want, invalid number, and we can even enhance it by telling them whether it's too low or too high. So let's just do this for right now. And then we'll make one change in here to enhance it. Now, these are not things that you actually have to do, but these are a way to enhancing. But remember, the rule of thumb is you always, always, always want to test it, do one thing, get it working right before you make any little fancy changes in here. So let's try and do this again. And we'll type in 11. And it says invalid number. We'll type in 0, invalid number, and then we'll do 10. And that looks good in here. So far, everything's looking